Okay, I will now review for the final exam. Final exam is for 25 points, and the exam will be made available from May 6 to May 8, and time allotted is 1 hour 15 minutes. So that you have 1 hour 15 minutes to work on the exam. Once you start your exam, you have to finish it. Okay, the exam is closed note and multiple choice. You can only log on to SAP. SAP Business Explorer Analyzer you have to log on to. Okay, so let me tell you what I would like you to practice before you take the test on the SAP portion of it. For the SAP portion, you have 12 points and you have another 13 points for conceptual questions. Okay, all would be multiple choice. So I want you to open before exam. I want you to open the Business Explorer Analyzer. I want you to go to the OLAP Global Bike Query dated 6/7 2010. Okay, I think there is an extra one here. So you have to open the OLAP Global Bike Query dated 6/17/2010. Now all of you have used this query for all of your exercises. So you know that query, open that query. Please do not save anything on the query, okay? You remember that. You do not save anything on the query. What are the different things you have to practice? You have to practice converting currency of revenue to US dollar, to Australian dollar, to euro, etc. Remember, for US dollar, you choose the currency to be USD, and also you choose the BI curriculum fixed rate. Okay. Now you need to know how to filter data associated with different companies. I ask you for KITS 10 because I want you to practice with one company. You can just do it for others, like you can do for Bike City, Cruise Boys, so on and so forth. You need to know how to display the total sales for the bike company for each year. You need to know how to display the overall revenue. You need to know how to display the overall sales for the whole bike company. Then you need to know how to do the total net sales of the bike company in USD. You need to filter sales organizations in Australia. You need to know how to find out the total revenue in Australia. Then you need to know the different distribution channels, internet or wholesale. Then I may ask you the discount in Australian dollar in the month of October for internet in 2006 in Australia. Or I may ask you the discount in euro in the month of November for wholesale in 2007 in Germany. Do you see that? Show only the net sales of the bike company in the year 2007 in Australia in Australian dollars. These are basically not the questions I will be asking you directly. These are your practice examples. So you need to know how to filter sales organizations in Australia, in Germany, in USA. You need to know how to remove filter and look at all the companies in all the countries together. You need to be able to filter the distribution channel to either internet or wholesale. You need to know how to choose 2006 or 2007 or both. You need to know how to display data associated with each of the material groups like Bike City, KITS 10, Cruise Boys, so on and so forth. Okay. There can be questions like, what is the total revenue for KITS 10 for 2006? And I will give you 4 choices. You have to choose one. So this is going to be a multiple choice question. If I ask you how many bikes were sold in 2007, then I give you 4 choices. You have to run the SAP. You have to find out the from the BEX analyzer the right answer and choose the one that is applicable. I may ask you how much revenue was earned in 2006 from Bike City in Australian dollar. And I give you again 4 questions, 4 answers, you have to choose one. Okay. Similarly, I can ask you what is the total net sales for the whole of the bike company in euro. Give you 4 choices, you choose the right answer. Okay, so on and so forth. So there would be 8 questions on SAP using the OLAP global bike query you have to answer. Okay, and the rest 13 points there will be questions, 1 point each from the slide, from the PowerPoint slides that I have posted with your review. Now, you will see that in the PowerPoint slides, in the notes view, lot of materials are there. For example, let me pull up the PowerPoint slide. Yeah, this is the one, and I have posted it so you can see it. So the first, if you look at the review, the first question is, what is an InfoCube? Okay. Now, InfoCube, so you have to study from here. See, look at here, this is the notes view. And here you will see more information which you need to know. So you know, all of us, we know star schema. Star schema is the logical way of organizing data in a data warehouse, and in the middle you have a fact table. This is just, I am reminding you of things we have done in the past, and then it is surrounded by dimension tables. Okay, the fact table, there is only one fact table and there can be up to 16 dimension tables. In the fact table, all quantitative measure goes in, like quantities, revenue, cost, taxes, all numbers, they go in the fact table. The dimension tables, they carry descriptive data like customer, like product, like time. And then now all these terms, InfoCube, info objects, characteristic, key figure, data source, info catalog, you have used these while you have worked on SAP. And I want now your conceptual ideas about these terms be clear. That's why I have included this in your exam, so that you can clear your conceptual ideas about these terms. So what is a InfoCube then? So you know the star schema, you already know from our exam 1 and when we covered it from the book. So this is basically, star schema is used to discuss the table structure from a conceptual or dimension modeling perspective, right? And the star schema is designed to support multidimensional reporting. So you see, the key figures or the measures such as quantities, revenues, costs, taxes, these are your key figures, or these are your quantitative measures. They are in the fact table. And the fact table are surrounded by dimension tables, and in the dimension tables you have characteristics like time, like product, like customer. Okay. Now, what is an InfoCube then? An InfoCube is typically used when referring to the actual set of tables where data is stored. InfoCube is physical. Star schema is logical. We are conceptually thinking about how to arrange the data in tables. InfoCube is physically where you are storing the tables. So it is the physical representation of the star schema. It also forms the basis of multidimensional reporting. This is the place where we actually store the tables. Okay, we were also asked to look at slide number 24 for InfoCube. So I will go to slide number 24. Okay, so here you see that InfoCubes are the structures, physical physical spaces where we stored the tables for multidimensional reporting, which is used for online analytical processing. An info cube consists of several tables that are linked according to the star schema. They include a fact table that contains the key figures, and key figures are measures such as quantities, costs, taxes, revenues, so on and so forth, as well as several surrounding dimensional tables. And dimension tables, they contain the characteristics such as product, such as time, such as customer, and so on. So remember, each info cube has one fact table and a maximum of 16 dimension tables. And out of them, 3 like time, unit, and info package, they are predefined by SAP. The next thing that we would study is info objects. And you have also used info objects in your SAP exercises. What is an info object? Key figures, by now you all know what is key figures. Key figures, you have created key figures using SAP. While you were on exercises, I believe in different assignments, you created 2 key figures, revenue and quantities, if you remember. So key figures are any kind of numeric information which are used to measure a business process. And key figures can be amount, quantity, number, integer, date, time. We created, I believe, quantity and revenue as our key figure in our SAP assignment. Key figures are stored in the fact table, remember? And key figures are also one type of info object. They are similar to measures or indicators of a transaction. Now, as we have already covered, there are 6 different data types associated with key figures, and the determination of which data type would be dependent on the source systems and the reporting requirements. Okay, so this is basically it. Key figures, which all of you have created in your assignment, and you know they are basically numeric information and they are stored in the fact table. They are a type of info objects. Okay, so also info objects will contain characteristics. Okay, so info objects contain both key figure and characteristics. Info objects basically is the generic term for business evaluation objects such as customer, product, region, revenue, headcount, etc. And it's a part of the BI, business intelligence metadata repository. Business objects carry the technical definition as well as the business logic definition. Remember, info objects are used across the whole business intelligence system as building blocks to represent data. Info objects can be key figures or characteristics. I talked about the key figures before. Now, for the characteristics, it can be product, customer, region, etc. Okay, the info object definition includes general information, master data information or text information, hierarchies, attributes, and compound information. So info objects basically are building blocks to represent data. They can be categorized as key figures or characteristics. We have already covered key figures, and then we will go for characteristics. Okay, characteristics. So this is another type of info objects. They are related to the master data of the OLTP system. They are used to provide meaning to the key figures as well as used as a basis for analysis. An example of characteristics would be customer, product, color, postcode, unit, date, etc. Characteristics, remember, they are descriptive information. Okay, but all the numeric information go to key figures. Okay, so let's look at info cube and info objects. Info cube, where we physically stored the tables of the star schema in the way the tables have been connected in the star schema. Okay. Now then info objects. Info objects are also building blocks of data, and they are categorized as characteristics and key figures. Key figures are numeric information like revenue, like sales, like taxes, like cost. Characteristics are descriptive information like customer, like product, like color, and so on. Okay, data source object, slide number 23, we will go to data source object. And in your last assignment, you have created data source object. Data store object, sorry, data stored object. Okay, so data stored object basically is one of the places where data is stored in the data warehouse. In the data warehouse, there can be a number of areas where data is stored, and data store object is an area where data is stored. And these objects, they store data at a detailed level. However, there is no aggregation, no summation. They enable reporting to occur at the document or transactional level without having to navigate back to the source system. Okay, so what happens is, from the source, the data are extracted and they are placed in the data store object. And data can be loaded into the data store object once and then loaded into various cubes often. So what happens is, you from the source object, like for example a transaction system, you take data, you store it in the DSO, data store object, okay, and then clean the data there, okay, and it is, after that it is stored into the info cube, and they are used for operational reporting. Okay, so data store object is the place where data is stored after being extracted from the source system and before being loaded into the info queue. Data sources basically means where from, or it's an infrastructure that facilitates the transfer of information from the source system to the SAP BI system. Okay, so basically what happens is, they are used to extract and stage data from source system. A data source subdivided the data provided by a source system into a set of fields that provide data for a business unit. Okay, there are 4 types of data source. Data source for transaction data, for attributes, for text, and for hierarchies. Info catalog. All of you have used info catalog in your exercises, assignments. Now we would like to look at what is an info catalog. Info catalog basically is a folder within an info area. So what is an info area in the first place? Info area, which you have used, is a directory that stores all related info objects within the same business context. Okay, so info objects would be all the characteristics and the key figures, and they are stored in a directory within the same business context, which is an info area. And an info object catalog is a folder within that info area that stores specific info objects. Okay. So SAP uses info areas at the highest level of the hierarchy, and then a further subdirectory is used to group info objects and is referred to as info objects catalog. And there is one created for an characteristic and key figures. Okay, So info area is a directory of all the info objects, and info object catalog is a folder within an info area that store specific info objects. We will also look at okay, so we have done info area and info catalog, and then going back to star schema, slide number 10. In the star schema, remember that the info cube is the place where physically the tables in the star schema are stored, and the connection is between the tables will be as per the star schema. Now, numeric information stored in the central fact table, descriptive information stored in the dimension table. The dimension tables, they okay, look at that. Remember, the fact table will have all the numeric information, and also it contains the primary keys of the dimension tables as foreign keys. Remember that. Okay, master data is stored external to the info cube, enabling it to be shared between different cubes. And this overcomes the redundancy problem. In addition, it now can support time and language dependency. Now, so what is master data? And the master data tables are linked to the fact table through dimension tables. And these tables are made up of numeric keys, which enhances performance. So what is master data? Master data are taken out of the info cube so that they can be shared by other cubes. And master data represents dimensional data. So look at the master data example: customer ID, customer name, city, region, type. Okay, material ID, material name, material type, material group. So it represents dimensional data, independent of any fact table, reusable in multiple fact tables, designed to support multilingual systems, designed to support time dependent data, designed to improve query performance. Fact table consists of key figures and dimensional keys, and dimension table act as a link between master data and fact table records, and info cube consists of fact and dimensional tables. So once again, you need to know what master data represents. They are taken out of the fact table so that they can be shared by different cubes. They represent dimensional data. Okay. Now we will look at the components of master data, which is slide number 19. In slide number 19, you can see the components of master data. Master data has three possible components, which can be text, attributes, and hierarchies. Okay. So master data can be made up of text, attribute, and on hierarchies. It can also be language and or time dependent. If it is language dependent, then another field would be required to identify which language the descriptors are related to. Okay. So we have short text, medium text, and long text, and their examples are given: short text America, medium text United States, long text United States of America. Attributes are characteristics which describe another characteristic. Example: student ID. Student ID and then the other characteristics can be name, address, suburb, city, age, etc. Student ID being the primary key, it would have other attributes. And hierarchies are tree-like structures which allow the user to navigate in reports, like for example global, region, country, state, city, zip code. Okay. So this is how you can do. So master data has three components: text, attributes, and hierarchies. And then remember that they represent the dimensional data, and this is fact table independent. Okay. Dimension tables. Dimension tables we have already discussed in slide 10. Dimension tables are basically, they contain descriptive data like customer, like product, like region, etc. And fact table also we know that it would contain numerical information and the primary keys of the dimension tables, which are basically the foreign keys. Now the last thing that you need to know are data targets. A data target is an object into which data can be loaded. Data targets are again physical objects that are relevant when modeling the data model and when loading data. So the data targets can be info cubes. You know, info cubes are basically physical, where they contain the tables of the star schema. Data store objects, where we keep the data before being loaded into the cube and after extracting from the source system. And also we know master data. Master data, they contain dimension data, and they are kept outside the fact table so that they can be shared by different info cubes. And master data has three components: text, hierarchies, and attributes. So this is your preparation for your exam. Once again, you need to practice the Business Explorer Analyzer using you can basically redo, just to practice, assignment 1 and assignment 2 on Business Explorer, the query analyzer, by trying to filter out different objects, by displaying the overall sales and net revenue, net sales and revenues and discounts, by currency conversion, okay, by eliminating different regions for different companies. All sorts of things you can do. You can look at assignment 1 and 2 for practicing, okay, for your exam. And then this slide that I have attached with your review sheet, you need to look at these slides, and I will ask you questions about info cube, info objects, key figure, characteristics, data store object, data sources, info catalog, info area, star schema, master data, components of master data, dimension table, fact table, and data targets, and those would be multiple choice questions. So once again, your exam would be available to you from May 6 to May 8. The time would be 1 hour and 15 minutes. 1 hour 15 minutes, and all would be multiple choice questions. To answer the multiple choice questions on the SAP part, you have to open SAP BX Analyzer and work on that. And on the other part, the descriptive part where I am asking you about info cube and info objects, that is closed note, closed book. You just have to choose from the multiple choice questions that I have asked you. Hope this explains. Many of you were asking me about the review. I hope this explains what I would be asking you for your exam. And good luck, and if you have any question, feel free to ask me.